Nuclear is a huge part of that, modular or otherwise. So we're going to have the lights on and AI operating when others do not, faster than everybody else because of nuclear capability. So this is a big game changer for us as well.
And we're also talking about the big plants, the very, very big, the biggest. We're going to be doing them also, but we're going to start off a little bit. I think the focus today is the smaller module, but included in this group, we're also doing big plants where needed. They won't be needed too much, but they'll literally be able to do it in the entire state. And you've read a lot about cost overruns in a couple of states that were pretty significant, but we're not going to have cost overruns. And the technology's come a long way, both in safety and cost and everything else. Would a couple of you guys like to talk about your companies and you want to say anything?
Joe, why don't you kick it off? Sure. My name is Joe Dominguez. I run Constellation Energy. We have about 25% of the nation's fleet. We're the largest publicly traded nuclear company in the world. We're in the middle of a merger with Calpine, and once completed, we will be the largest electric producing company in the world. About enough power to produce to cover all of Mexico, actually.
I didn't know that. When we talked, you were so modest. I can't believe it.
That's normally not said about me, Mr. President.
Very impressed. Go ahead. So you think it's got a great future?
Yeah, well, absolutely we do. And the big change here is not only the technology has come around, but we have some of the largest companies in the world, the hyperscalers, who need this energy for AI, who are now working with us to fund the development and construction of the next generation nuclear. Nuclear is a 24/7 resource. These data centers run 24/7. Some of them will cost $200–300 billion, and they want to run them all of the time. So we can't use intermittent resources. We need something that's always on, 24/7, and nothing does that better than nuclear. The problem in the industry has historically been regulatory delay. Mr. President, you know this because you're the best at building big things. Delay in regulations and permitting will absolutely kill you, because if you can't get the plant on, you can't get revenue, and the interest costs are horrible. We're wasting too much time on permitting, and we're answering silly questions, not the important ones. For example, let me give you an example. In 3 places in this country, we're trying to license new reactors at sites that already have reactors. Yet I have to spend $35 billion at each site just for the NRC to do an analysis that says this is a good place for nuclear. Well, guess what? We've been running nuclear in that community for 4 decades. Why are we even asking that question? I'd rather spend that $35 million, 3 times $105 million, perfecting the design, start building the foundation, and getting going. We need to do this for America.
Are we doing something about the regulatory in here?
Oh, yes, sir.
You are, so it's going to be a big factor.
Yes, sir. That issue I just described will be addressed in this EO, and many other issues that we don't have time with the President to
But
cover.
you say it's very, we've contemplated just about everything.
Well, this, Mr. President, this energy dominance
I want to
you have
just
created
say that we're going to
something
defeat
I haven't
childhood
seen in
cancer
30
once and for all. And I'd
It
like
brings
to ask
together all the
Stephanie
pieces of
to say a
government
few
in
words.
one
She's a very
place
special
to
person.
expedite the process.
And,
Under Secretary Burgum's
very much
leadership, this has
involved in this.
been
Thank
an
you very much.
amazing, amazing thing. It used to be the case that I have to run to about 5 different places in Washington to get one answer, and now it's all together in one place. So all I know about Secretary Burgum and Secretary Wright is if we haven't gotten it right, we'll get it right shortly, and we'll do another order for you to sign. But thank you so much for your leadership.
Susan, you were going to say something?
Well, I was just going to say commercial nuclear, a bit of an unsung hero, and I just want to thank you, Mr. President, Secretary Burgum, Secretary Wright, for bringing this attention to commercial nuclear. We have the largest and most safe fleet right here in the United States, and upon that, we have fantastic innovation that's being brought forward, and it's going to come in all shapes and sizes, and it's going to actually be coming through some of these companies that you see represented here. We're going to have great jobs, we're going to have wonderful energy, and we're going to be ready. So thank you, Mr. President, for leaning in.
Appreciate it. Great job. Thank you. How about talking about your company and the job?
And as I stood up from my
Mr. President.
affirmation,
Well, first of all, a little MIT nuclear connection that goes back. I've been familiar for
you. So, yeah, we're working on small reactors. I'm Jake DeWitt, CEO, co-founder at Oklo. Working on small next-generation reactors that take technology America invented, developed, and pioneered and bringing it to the market after it sat on the shelves of history for about 40 years. And it's because of the actions that you're doing today that are going to help unleash that. Changing the permitting dynamics is going to help things move faster. We're seeing private investment flow into this space like we've never seen before. We went public about a year ago. One of the most successful actually go public outcomes for a transaction like that for a small nuclear company because the market needs this and wants this. And under your leadership, creating the Dominance Council, I mean, it's hard to overstate the value of that. And nuclear is a manifestation of energy dominance. In fact, a golf ball of uranium metal, which this is not, but it's a golf ball, has enough energy content to power your entire life's energy. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And to get back to building, nuclear uses the fewest materials, right? The least amount of concrete, of steel, of fuel for amount of energy it produces. So it should be the cheapest, the most scalable, the most sustainable. Just like you mentioned, Mr. President, about the importance of doing that right. The physics are on our side, and these things help unleash this innovation to actually realize that. So it's never been more exciting.
Today, President Trump
Very exciting indeed. Go ahead, please.
And I'm Scott Nolan, CEO of General Matters. We're an American enrichment company trying to bring back the U.S.'s lead in producing nuclear fuel. So just like car engines need fuel, nuclear reactors need fuel. Right now, the U.S. is completely dependent on other countries to make the key step of enrichment in this fuel. And these executive orders are going to pave the way for the U.S. to regain its lead. So we really appreciate it.
Will you be doing the AI plants? Because we have a lot of them going up now, and or soon going up, and they need tremendous electricity. Are you going to be involved in any ways?
Yes.
Will a lot of them be using nuclear, or some are using oil and gas, some are using different things? But
Many of them will be, I think.
it just makes a lot of sense.
Nuclear is a perfect solution, and that's where most of them are interested.
focus on research
Good luck.
harnesses AI
Be great.
uncover causes.
Okay, Will, please.
The first executive order we have for you relates to the issue that Secretary Hegseth is speaking to, which is the need for incredible amounts of power at defense installations and also in AI-focused installations. What this executive order will do is speed up the approval and adoption process for specialized nuclear reactors at these sorts of sites. It also involves the Department of Energy making available the necessary fuel stock. It also creates a special envoy position and a strategy around nuclear technology export. The idea being that we can grow American industry on the back of foreign purchasers who are interested in this sort of technology as well.
I'm just thinking as you say that, I just said, what about auto pens? Could I use an auto pen? What did Biden do? Did he have an auto pen at the desk?
Nuclear powered.
No, he didn't do events like this. He used nuclear power. You know, he didn't do events like this, I guess.
Together we will ensure that every innovation, every breakthrough goes to work.
You walk into the other side of the room, have an auto pen sign. Right? Here it is. It's phase one. Very big phase, very important phase.
Sir, this next executive order is intended to reform the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. You heard a few of the people here speak about the complex regulatory processes that have really held the nuclear industry back. Before 1978, there were 133 reactors built in the United States. Since 1978, only 2 new commercial reactors have come online. That's because of overregulation, and the goal of this executive order is bringing that regulatory process into line with the actual needs of the industry and public safety, with an end goal of quadrupling the amount of nuclear power production in the next 2.5 decades.
It's fantastic. Do they know why this? It's exciting, right?
This next executive order relates to nuclear reactor testing, sir. The degree of overregulation and governmental inaction in this space in particular has had the effect of throttling development of new, highly modernized nuclear reactors that could really revolutionize the field of nuclear power generation. So this executive order, it orders a revised regulatory process to speed this whole process while preserving, obviously, core safety concerns. It also creates a new pilot program with an expectation that we will have 3 new experimental reactors online by July 4th.
Childhood cancer data coordinated pediatric, adolescent, and young adult rare cancers. First launched at the Pharma in 2019. When I was a young
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order on reinvigorating the nuclear industrial base. There are a number of core issues here, including the issue with fuel feedstock that one of the speakers mentioned before. This executive order, among other actions, includes an invocation of the Defense Production Act in order to spur a closer collaboration with private industry to ensure that we have the fuel supplies we need for a modernized nuclear energy sector. In addition to that, it includes crucial provisions relating to the development of a nuclear energy sector workforce and a number of other key building blocks to the overall nuclear industry that we're trying to spur here.
In the mid-1970s, the 5-year survival for cancer was 58%. Today, the cancer survival rate for children with cancer is 85%.
We have one more for you here, sir. This doesn't directly relate to nuclear energy, but it's on a similar subject. This executive order is entitled Restoring Gold Standard Science. One of the issues that we've had in recent decades is that government policy has been made on the back of junk science. Scientific studies and findings that have included conflicts of interest or scientific misconduct. The purpose of this executive order is to recenter policymaking around gold standard science. Scientific efforts that have followed appropriate scientific methods that don't include those sorts of conflicts of interest, and to ensure that when departments and agencies are relying on scientific studies to promulgate rules, to promulgate regulations, that the science that they're relying on is highly reliable and available to the public.
Research tools like molecular characterization and genetic information
How many
that will
people here
improve preventive
agree with
measures,
that?
treatment, quality of life,
I
and
think a
survival
lot.
for childhood cancer. By uniting families, clinicians, and researchers, by harnessing the power of AI, CCVI will accelerate diagnosis, inform treatment, and develop the next generation of life-saving therapies.
Is that it?
That's all we have for you next week.
About giving families hope. Today, we commit to taking this work to the next level. With the executive order that President Trump has signed,
These brilliant people, they are brilliant people, actually.
artificial intelligence help us uncover faster, more precise treatments, improve quality of life, and better survival. And finally, let me extend my
Yeah, we are. It's become very safe. Actually, it's become very safe, and tremendous work's been done on that, more than anything else. And it's really the automatic shutoffs. There's so many different things that they have now that they would have never had. You know, my uncle was a great nuclear person years ago, and it was a different. If you would have asked that question, probably it would have been a much different answer. But they have tremendous shutoff power and other powers that. And very redundant, as I understand it, at a level that nobody's ever seen before. So it's safe. And we're going to do a lot of the small ones, and we're going to do some of the big ones. But yeah, very safe, safe and clean. Let's keep it on this for a little while. Let's keep it on the nuclear, and then if you want to ask something else, which you might, we'll do that.
Harness and share data on childhood cancers has positioned us today to leverage AI in a way that we never imagined before. With America's pioneering models,
yeah, we're going to get it very fast, and we're going to get it very safe, and we're going to get the people in and out, and they're going to do plants. In many cases, they'll do 3 or 4 smaller ones and put them together. That's what France has done. France has done a good job for years. And they, as I understand it, they had basically one plant, and if they needed more, they'd do 3 or 4 or 5 of them. I don't know, we have to go that far, but you know, there's something about building one big one. But we'll build the big ones too. We're going to have, I think I would say we'll be second to none, because we're starting very strong. But it's time for nuclear, and we're going to do it very big. Yeah, please.
President, what about the European Union? You said that negotiations are going nowhere. Where are the kind of points where they're
moving? I've been saying to everybody, they've treated us very badly over the years. It was formed in order to hurt the United States, in order to take advantage of the United States, and they've done that. We have a big deficit with them. They sell millions and millions of cars, as you know, Mercedes and BMW and Volkswagen and many others, and we were essentially restricted from selling cars into the European Union, which is not nice. And I just said it's time that we play the game the way I know how to play the game. You know, they've taken advantage of other people, representing this country, and they're not going to do that any longer. Yeah.
Mr. President, you are a deal maker, deal breaker. What are you hoping to achieve with a 50% tariff?
Well, I think this is there is no tariff, because what they'll do is they'll send their companies into the U.S. and build their plant. You know, we have I guess over $12 trillion practically committed. You look at other presidents; they haven't had $1 trillion for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years. We have numbers. Nobody's ever seen numbers like we have. And if they build their plant here, then they have no tariff.
And his company Pfizer agreed. The president's been pushing on this since his first term, and he's been calling
I'm not looking for a deal. I mean, we've set the deal. It's at 50%. But again, there is no tariff if they build their plant here. Now, if somebody comes in and wants to build a plant here, I can talk to them about a little bit of a delay. But you know, while they're building their plant, which is something I think that would be appropriate, maybe we'll determine that.
5, 6, 7 times more.
I don't know. We're going to see what happens, but right now it's going on June 1st, and that's the way it is. No, they haven't treated us properly. They haven't treated our country properly. They banded together to take advantage of us, and the people behind me know, because they had some of that with their industry. But generally, you know, we signed a great deal with United Kingdom. We have numerous other deals that are ready to be signed. We've signed a deal with China. We have some really amazing deals, but the European Union, I mean, the sole purpose was really to not to hurt us, but to take advantage of us, and we're not going to be taking advantage.
Mr. President, on Apple,
but at the
you
same
said
time,
this
it's
morning
critical.
that if they don't
It
bring
allowed
their iPhones to the
Pfizer,
U.S., they're
we
going to
believe,
hit
for
them
other
with a
pharmaceutical companies to
25%
maintain their
tariff.
innovative
You have the
edge.
power to
We want
tariff
America to
one
continue to
single
find cures
company. Why would
No,
you want to
it would
hurt
be
an
more.
American
with the children.
It would be more. It would be also Samsung and anybody that makes that product. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair. So anybody that makes that product, and that'll start on, I guess, at the end of June, it'll come out. I think we have that appropriately done by the end of June. So if they make that product, now, again, when they build their plant here, there's no tariff. So they're going to be building plants here. But I had an understanding with him that he wouldn't be doing this. He said he's going to India to build plants. I said, that's okay to go to India, but you're not going to sell into here without tariffs. And that's the way it is. Yeah.
Why would you hurt an American?
What makes you confident, sir, that Apple can build in the United States at a price that Americans can?
Oh, they can. No, they can. A lot of it's so computerized now. These plants are amazing if you look at them, but they can do that. And you know, actually, as you know, Apple's coming in with $500 billion. So are the chip companies. We have all of the chip companies coming in. The biggest, $500 billion, $200 billion, $250 billion they're spending. But we're talking about the iPhone now, and you know, the iPhone, if they're going to sell it in America, I want it to be built in the United States. They're able to do
When you
that.
say that Walmart should the cost of the tariffs, is that an acknowledgement that it is U.S. companies that bear the brunt of tariffs, not foreign countries?
Sometimes the country will eat it, sometimes Walmart will eat it, and sometimes there'll be something to pay, something extra. I've always been a fan, and I've always believed, and if you look, take a look at what I did 4 years ago. We had the greatest economy, and we had no inflation. Remember that. We had no inflation, and yet we had hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs that I put on China. Yet we had no inflation. We had no big cost differential. Oftentimes, and I don't like it when a department store, because they'll do a lot of business, but you know, they announce record profits and everything else. They have to take out some of their profits. They'll make a little bit less money. But I don't want the consumer. I don't want the consumer to pay.
But why impose tariffs that you know are hurting American businesses?
They're not hurting, they're helping, because they're creating jobs in America. We're creating tremendous amounts of jobs in America like you've never seen. We're having investment in America. We're not getting ripped off by every country in the world. We've been ripped off by every country in the world. They're making their product, they sell it. They don't give our people the jobs, they make them with other countries' jobs. And we will have something that nobody will ever see again, I think. I think we have a potential to do
not
numbers
accept
that we
that
never
will
envisioned
affect
in the
everybody.
wildest year. Look at
When I
what's
see what we're
happening.
doing with AI and all the
10 to
plants that we're
12
opening up in the
trillion
country,
dollars
$17
in
trillion is
literally a
gonna
couple
be
of months.
Compare that
It's
to Biden.
not
Biden
nothing
had,
like that's ever happened.
in 4 years,
It's a
less
very
than
special.
trillion.
We're
We
doing a
have
very
17
special
trillion,
thing.
more than that. I think it's
We
gonna be
want,
much
if they're
more
going to
than
sell
that,
it here, generally speaking, not for
by
all products. There's
the
some
end of
products
this
we
year,
don't want to
we're
make.
far over.
And
That's
frankly,
a
we're
record.
much better
It's
off
already a record.
getting them
8
elsewhere.
months.
But
It's a record
for
by
certain
a lot.
products, we want cars.
So
We
we're
want to
doing
make
well as
cars.
a
We don't want to
country,
have,
so the last thing we
and I
want
like
to do is shut
Canada
it
very
down,
much, but we don't want to have Canada making our cars. We want to make our cars. It's a phone call. Do you mind? Okay, it's only a congressman. I'd let you know, actually.
Mr. President, are you considering stopping other universities from taking foreign students?
It's a different congressman. They're all congratulating us.
Well,
Yeah,
we're
it's
in
lucky
the
it is.
process of getting very close.
Okay,
and Linda's
that's good.
finishing
Are
up
you
the final
considering
details,
stopping
and
other
they'll be
universities
paying
besides
about
Harvard from
$500
accepting foreign
Well, we're
students?
taking a look at a lot of
They'll be
things.
operating
And as you
in
know,
schools. They're gonna be teaching people
billions
how
of
to do
dollars
AI and
has been paid to Harvard.
lots of other things.
How
Engines,
ridiculous is
lots of
that?
things.
Billions.
You know, we need people
And they
in
have
places
$52
that
billion
are well
as an
able to
endowment. They have $52 billion.
But they
And
can take a,
this country is
motor
paying
or an
billions
engine
and
apart,
billions of
blindfold
dollars
them
and then
and
give
back
student loans and
blindfold
they have to pay back the
They
loans.
weren't
So
too good at
Harvard's
other
going to have
things.
to change its ways.
They-
So are some others.
Mr. President, on that note,
So trade
a
schools are
lot
very
of
important. We
CEOs
lost
in
trade
the
schools.
United
We used to have
States, big companies
trade schools
are
in this country.
foreign.
We're gonna have them-
What
we
is
have
that going
tremendous
to
plans
do?
up
fine
there.
with
We
that.
want to have
Competitive.
No,
at top
we
of
want
the
to do that. We're actually going to be doing something in the near future that's going to make it possible for people to come into this country and come in and, you know, have a road toward citizenship. And I think it'll be very exciting, but it's too soon to speak.
You don't think that banning students?
I do, but a lot of the people need remedial math. Did you see that? Where the students can't add 2 and 2. And they go to Harvard. They want remedial math, and they're going to teach remedial math at Harvard. Now, wait a minute. So why would they get in? How can somebody that can't add or has very basic skills, how do they get into Harvard? Why are they there? And then you see those same people picketing and screaming at the United States and screaming at, you know, they're anti-Semitic or they're something. We don't want troublemakers here. But how do people that can't, when Harvard comes out with a statement that they're going to teach some of their students remedial math, that's basic math, that's not the deal. Okay, and anymore? In the back?
Other countries you're considering shortening the 90-day pause on tariffs for, and then are there specific steps you're looking for the EU to take?
We do. Well, we have a lot of requests, and you know, you don't have the people to handle it. Frankly, everybody wants to make a deal. I'm sure now the European Union wants to make a deal very badly, but they just they don't do it right. They don't go about it right. The other thing they do is they sue our companies all the time. You know, they have suits where they're judges. I don't know if they're appointed by them, but they're definitely Europe-centric, and we're not going to stand for it. They won a $17 billion lawsuit for Apple, and I read that case, and that's not a case that should have been won. They're suing other of our companies. They use this as a weapon, but they use it really to raise funds for what they do. It's almost like a fundraising mechanism. So we add that to the fact that they do the non-monetary tariffs and lots of other trading. You would call them trading barriers. They don't take our cars. They don't take our agriculture. They don't take anything, but we take their cars by the millions. And therefore, they have the jobs, they get the money, and we get closed plants. It's not going to happen that way anymore. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
I said, well, why is Germany paying? Why aren't other countries paying? And they always had a good answer, but you got to a point where I didn't like the answer. I said, we have to do this. And we do. The team that we have with Oz and Bobby and Chris and all of the people that we have working on it, and I must tell you, Marty's been a big, wherever you may be, Marty, but Marty's been a big factor. We have a great team. There's never been a medical team like this, and I said, let's go do it. And then I did.
Good afternoon, everyone.
I bug them every single day, every week.
Happy Monday. Good to see all of you here. I want to start with a preview of President Trump's very busy schedule for the week. Later this afternoon, the president will be making a major announcement focused on the childhood autism epidemic, alongside his top health advisors who are working to make America healthy again. This will be a powerful display of how the entire Trump administration is committed to addressing root causes of chronic conditions and diseases, embracing full transparency in government, and championing gold standard science. Tonight, the president will depart to New York City ahead of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. He will be joined in New York City by the First Lady. Tomorrow morning, President Trump will deliver a major speech touting the renewal of American strength around the world, his historic accomplishments in just 8 months, including the ending of 7 global wars and conflicts. The president will also touch upon how globalist institutions have significantly decayed the world order, and he will articulate his straightforward and constructive vision for the world. The president will also be hosting bilateral meetings with the UN Secretary General and the leaders of Ukraine, Argentina, and the European Union. The president will also later in the day hold a multilateral meeting with Qatar, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Turkey, Pakistan, Egypt, the UAE, and Jordan. After these important meetings, the president will attend a reception tomorrow night with more than 100 world leaders before returning to Washington, D.C. On Thursday here at the White House, President Trump will welcome President Erdogan of Turkey for a bilateral meeting. And on Friday, the president will travel to Long Island for the Ryder Cup golf match between the United States and Europe. This event is one of the greatest sporting events in the world, and it would not be taking place this year without President Trump's help. President Trump signed an executive order last week preventing a strike that would have crippled the New York City area ahead of the tournament, and at the request of the 5 labor unions who all represent workers on the Long Island Railroad. One of the greatest golfers in the world, Bryson DeChambeau, praised the president's critical intervention, saying, quote, "When the possibility of a strike threatened to disrupt transportation and attendance, President Trump stepped up and took the action needed to protect this world-class competition." Thanks to President Trump's decisive leadership, the Ryder Cup experience will be everything fans in the golf community deserve. Again, that's a quote from the great golfer Bryson DeChambeau. Now let's all hope the American Ryder Cup team can take home the trophy. In other news, positive economic data continues to pour in. Brand new polling shows that Americans' faith in the economy and the direction of the nation is back on track and shooting even higher. Home ownership is more affordable, with mortgage rates dropping to a 3-year low. For new home buyers, this represents a $250 decline in your monthly mortgage payment, or nearly $3,000 a year. President Trump has made it very clear he wants to continue to see mortgage rates decline to a record low, just like they did in his first term. Thanks to President Trump's unleashing energy dominance, gas prices are dropping, and Americans are spending the smallest share of their disposable income on gasoline since 2005. Additionally, the annual cost to own and operate a new vehicle is down by nearly 6% over the last year. Americans are earning more, and they are spending more than ever before. After inflation outpaced for 26 straight months under Joe Biden, real wages have increased nearly every month since President Trump took office, with wages for blue-collar workers rising at the fastest rate in 6 decades. Retail sales are also booming, up 5% over last year, and the stock market is booming, and Americans' retirement accounts continue to do well, with the Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ all hitting new record highs. In fact, the S&P 500 is up nearly 15%, and the NASDAQ is up more than 21% since Election Day. As part of President Trump's mission to restore America as the manufacturing superpower of the world, he has secured nearly $9 trillion in U.S. investment, nearly 9 times more than Biden attracted in his entire 4-year term, and we expect that number to be upwards of $15 trillion very soon. We're already seeing the initial economic benefits of these investments, with industrial production recently rising to an all-time high. President Trump built the greatest economy in the history of the world in his first term, and we are witnessing him do it all over again. Now, before I open it up to questions, I do want to speak on the heinous political assassination of Charlie Kirk. As President Trump powerfully stated yesterday, this assassination was an attack on everything that makes the United States of America the greatest country on earth. But that attack has completely failed. The heartwarming response from the overwhelming majority of the American people over the past 2 weeks is all of the proof that you need. The assassin who took Charlie's life can destroy flesh and blood, but he can never destroy the values that Charlie stood for. All across the country, millions of Americans have prayed, hosted vigils, attended church services, became politically engaged for the first time, and honored the legacy of Charlie and the ideals he died speaking for. The beautiful memorial service attended by President Trump and 100,000 great Americans in State Farm Stadium yesterday was just the latest example. And Erica Kirk's mercy was one of the greatest acts of grace this world has ever seen. May God continue to watch over Erica and their beautiful children. Unfortunately, there have been some jarring exceptions to this unity. This past Friday, 58 House Democrats voted no, and 38 voted present on a resolution that simply stated, condemning in the strongest possible terms the assassination of Charles James Kirk and all forms of political violence. There were no strings attached to this vote. This was a simple gesture of human decency to denounce political violence. I wish I could say that this was only a fringe group, but 96 votes is nearly half of the entire House Democrat caucus. And they didn't just vote against this basic resolution condemning political violence. A number of those same Democrats took to the House floor to smear Charlie Kirk's name. The man wasn't even buried yet, and Democrat members of Congress were denigrating his memory on the floor of the House of Representatives. This was truly a sad moment and a clear reflection of how radical the Democrat Party has become. Many Democrats in elective office have now been totally captured by a radical fringe of the far left base who want to dehumanize every person they disagree with. We must continue to call this wickedness out. It's the only way that our nation can heal. For too long, past leaders have offered platitudes while political violence has been allowed to fester and harm innocent Americans. There has been coordinated campaigns dating back years, spearheaded by radical left-wing organizations centered on dehumanizing, intimidating, doxing, and even attacking Americans whom they disagree with. These groups have radicalized impressionable individuals to foment violence. An attempted transgender assassin traveled to Justice Brett Kavanaugh's family home with plans to end his life. An attempted assassin came within an inch of ending President Trump's life in Butler, Pennsylvania. And on the campaign trail, another attempted assassin tried to kill the president at his golf club in Florida. A left-wing assassin shot United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson right in the back in the heart of New York City. ICE agents are facing a more than 1,000% increase in assaults for simply doing their jobs. Violent radical left-wing mobs engaged in illegal behavior, targeted Jewish Americans, and shut down America's college campuses under the previous administration. Left-wing mobs burned down Tesla dealerships out of, quote, protest of Elon Musk and his policies. In May, a left-wing activist shouting "Free Palestine" murdered 2 innocent Israeli embassy staffers outside of the D.C. Jewish Museum here in Washington. These are just a few examples, prominent examples, of the growing left-wing political violence in our country. Enough is enough, and as President Trump has promised, he will directly address the dark sources funding and supporting this domestic terrorism to finally restore order in our country. The American people can expect further, very strong action on this very soon. Everyone, Republican, Democrat, everyone in between, we all deserve to live in a country where we do not have to fear for our lives simply for stating what we believe in. With that, I will take your question. In today's new media seat, we have Monica Page, who is the White House correspondent for Turning Point USA's news organization, on the front lines. Monica, thank you for being here. We're so sorry for the loss of Charlie. I know you work for him, you were very close to him, and we appreciate your being in the new media seat and also your commitment to covering the White House. You are here every day, just like the rest of everyone in this room. So why don't you kick us off today?
Thank you so much, Caroline. I don't
realize how much it means to me to be here in this seat, especially on behalf of Turning Point USA and Frontline. To be great.
Fantastic. How about somebody else? I love hearing this.
We appreciate it. We also greatly appreciate the outpouring of support and just the really kind words that we heard yesterday at the memorial service. That means more to us than I don't think anybody ever knows. And even the global support that we're seeing for Charlie has been overwhelming, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you so much. I have 3 questions, if I may, on the horrific.
I love hearing this. I love hearing you talk because you talk better than any of us, right, Jim?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, I want to thank you.
Murder of Charlie Kirk. Government and local officials said that Antifa inscriptions were engraved in these bullet casings that killed Charlie Kirk. It appears to be a trend, especially after what we saw in the Annunciation Church shooting, Catholic Church shooting. Additionally, Stephen Miller recently commented on the rise in this kind of violence, saying there is a domestic terrorist movement growing in this country. The president is designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. I'm wondering what is the approach to holding these people accountable, just to ensure that violence like this just is eradicated moving forward. Sure. Well, Antifa is going to be designated a domestic terrorist organization. The president intends to sign that executive order very soon as it's drafted, as soon as today, later this afternoon. And this is something the president campaigned on because we have seen a rise in violence perpetuated by Antifa radical people across this country who subscribe to this group. And unfortunately, it's gone widely uncovered by many in the legacy media. It also went completely ignored by the previous administration. Not anymore. Not only, as you mentioned, were the bullet casings subscribed with Antifa mottos, if you will, in the heinous assassination of Charlie, but there have also been more examples than I could read off for you here in this briefing room today of violence from Antifa. I will just read a few. In July 2025, several members of an Antifa cell ambushed and opened fire on officers at an ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas, shooting 1 officer in the neck. Also in July 2025, 3 Antifa members were charged with assaulting a police officer during a violent riot outside an ICE facility in Portland, which for weeks prior had been under siege from the local Antifa terror cell. In February 2024, a transgender Antifa terrorist detonated an explosive device outside of the office of the Republican Attorney General of Alabama. In July 2023, Antifa members linked to abortionist group Jane's Revenge firebombed pro-life facilities and vandalized churches. In January 2022, a suspected Antifa member was arrested for bringing a pipe bomb.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
To a pro-Trump event. In January 2021, an Antifa supporter threatened to shoot police officers and Trump supporters outside of the Florida State Capitol building. Again, I could continue to list many more examples. For those in the room who don't believe this is a serious threat to American safety and our national security, but this administration knows that it is. That's why the president will be signing this order. And we will also be, most importantly, looking at who is funding Antifa and who is funding these other violent left-wing groups that we've seen perpetuate so much crime and mayhem across our country.
It's an honor to have you all.
And Charlie Kirk died exercising his First Amendment right, willingly debating, conversing with everybody and anybody. That was what he did. So what message does this White House have now to
if it's
all
okay,
Americans who
I'm going to invite you over to the Oval Office.
They are too afraid to express their beliefs, their values, their morals in the wake of such horrific violence? I think the president has answered this, and I will leave it to his response, Monica, where he so beautifully said,
today it's a great honor to officially present the Commander-in-Chief's trophy to the 2024 Navy Midshipmen football team, a great team.
We have a right to free speech in this country. The president supports it. It is protected by our beautiful Constitution. And Americans should not cower in fear. They should rise up in courage to continue speaking the truth.
Congratulations, and we're thrilled to be joined by a proud Marine Corps veteran Vice
Charlie
President
was
J.D.
a great
Vance.
guy, and
JD?
he was, of course, a very
Where's
influential
JD?
person in the conservative
What the
movement,
hell happened
in the
to
MAGA
JD?
movement. He was so
He was
helpful
just
to the
here. He
president
must have
during the
gotten a
campaign
call
and to all
from
of us who worked on
China.
that campaign, that historic campaign.
He's over
I
here.
myself had many great memories
Along
going
with
on
Secretary of
Charlie's
Defense,
amazing podcast
Pete
and
Hegseth.
his show.
Thank you, Pete,
he was
very much.
always
You're doing a great job,
willing
too.
to text people with words
The
of
Houthis aren't
encouragement. In
doing
fact,
very well, but
my
you're
last
doing
text
well,
exchange
aren't you, huh?
with him was the
Secretary
day
of
before
the
he
Navy,
died.
John Phelan,
and he was
friend of
asking
mine,
for my
great
husband
guy,
and
very
I's address
successful
to
person,
send
by
a
the
children's
way.
book to our son.
new chairman of
and
the
I
Joint
think that
Chiefs
just
of
speaks
Staff,
to
Dan
the type of person that he
Raisin-Cane. Where
was.
is he?
And I
There he
know
is.
so many of us here at the White
I
House are
talked
going to
about
miss him
him
very
in my
much.
speeches for years.
Thank
Who
you.
knew I was
Okay.
going to be appointing him
Thank you.
to be the top?
Regarding the autism
It's an honor.
announcement.
It's a real honor. Everything you did with me was perfect. I said, what happened to that guy Raisin-Cane? I want him. And that's what happened. And so you're going to do a great job.
I know
no
there's
doubt about
been
it.
many
Thanks, Dan.
reports about what this
Acting
announcement at
Chief
4
of
o'clock
Naval
will be gained.
Operations,
The president
Admiral
is very excited
James
about this. I
Kilby.
don't want to scoop the president
Admiral,
of the United
thank you.
States and our Secretary
Congratulations.
of Health and Human
And
Services.
Superintendent
but
of the
what I
Naval
can assure
Academy,
you
Vice
is that,
Admiral Yvette Davis.
Robert F. Kennedy and the incredible health team that this president has put together are
How
really
are you,
viewing
Yvette?
things in a much
But
different
I
lens.
especially want
And they
to
are
thank
paying
and
attention to
congratulate
studies
Athletic
and the gold
Director
standard of
Chet
science and
Gladchuk,
research
who
that
will
many
soon
in the
retire
city for
after
far too long
24
have
I
turned
looked
a
at him,
blind
I
eye
said, this is
to.
a
So
young-looking
I think
guy. I don't
Americans
like
are going
this
to be
retirement
enlightened
stuff.
and proud of what they
But after
hear
24
later this
years,
afternoon,
and,
but I won't get
he's
ahead
gonna
of
do
the
other
president
things,
on
I
exactly what
guarantee
that
that'll
announcement
also
entails.
be
On a different topic,
incredible, but it's going to
going
be
back
very
to the
hard
president's social
to
media
top
post from over the
what he's done
weekend,
as athletic director.
regarding,
He's had
the DOJ and his,
honor of 4
seeming
national
frustration that
championships,
they hadn't
251
taken
conference
action
titles,
quickly enough.
and
I want to point to something that
352
the president said during his
All-American
inaugural
athletes.
address.
That's not
Never
bad.
again will
Where
the
are
immense
you?
power
Where
of the
are you?
state be weaponized to
That
pursue
is not
political
bad.
opponents. We will not allow that to happen. Is the president going back on his promise?
No, in fact, the president
So you had
is
all of these All-American
fulfilling
athletes.
his promise to
Any
restore a
name
Department of
athlete
Justice
that
that
really
demands
stands out, or were
accountability.
they just all
And it
great
is
athletes?
not weaponizing the Department of
Everyone,
Justice
as far as
to
you're
demand
concerned, are all the
accountability
same,
for
right?
those who weaponize
Great job you've
the
done.
Department
What a
of
record that is.
Justice.
Who has a
And
record
nobody
like
knows
that?
what
I
that
also
looks
wanna
like
thank
more than
some of
President
the
Trump.
newly appointed
We are
members
not
of
going
the
to
Naval
tolerate
Academy's Board
gaslighting
of
from anyone in the
Visitors.
media or
Sean
from anyone on the
Spicer
other
is here,
side who is
and
trying to
Walt
say that it's
Nauta.
the president who is
Now, Walt
weaponizing
could
the
be,
DOJ. It was Joe
he's thinking
Biden
about going to Guam
and
someday,
his attorney general
and
who
he'll be
weaponized the
taking over as
DOJ. Joe
governor,
Biden
but we
used
won't mention
this
that right
sacred
now,
American
Walt, will we?